Most people spend their entire lives chasing money, yet they never stop to ask themselves why they're so poor at keeping it. They work harder, earn more, climb higher, but the gap between what they have and what they need only seems to widen. The truth is uncomfortable, almost unbearable to admit. We are not taught to build wealth. We are taught to manage scarcity, and there is a world of difference between the two. Money is not what we think it is. We treat it like oxygen, something we need in vast quantities just to survive, when in reality, money is more like blood. It flows through systems, through economies, through our lives, and its value is determined not by how much we have, but by how well it circulates, how efficiently it serves its purpose. The moment we hoard it out of fear, the moment we spend it out of impulse, we corrupt the very system that could set us free. Let me tell you something that no one wants to hear. The reason most people struggle with money is not because they don't earn enough. It's because they fundamentally misunderstand what money represents. Money is not security. Money is not freedom. Money is not even power. Money is a tool, and like any tool, it amplifies what you already are. If you are disciplined, money makes you more disciplined. If you are fearful, money makes you more fearful. If you are purposeless, money will not give you purpose. It will only fund your distractions. Carl Jung once said that people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. And nowhere is this more evident than in how we handle money. We buy things we don't need to impress people we don't like. We work jobs that drain us because we're terrified of what might happen if we stopped. We tell ourselves that once we reach a certain number, once we hit that magical threshold, then we'll be happy, then we'll be free, then we'll finally live the life we were meant to live. But that day never comes. Because the problem was never the amount. The problem was always the relationship. The best money advice you'll ever hear is this: stop treating money like the goal and start treating it like what it actually is, a byproduct of value creation. Wealth is not accumulated by grasping. Wealth is accumulated by building, by solving problems, by becoming someone who provides something the world needs. And yet, we spend our days obsessing over paychecks and promotions, while ignoring the most fundamental question of all: what value am I creating? Think about the wealthiest people you know, not the lottery winners or the trust fund heirs, but the people who built something from nothing. They didn't start by asking how to make money. They started by asking what problem needed solving. They started by becoming indispensable. They started by developing skills that others were willing to pay for. Money followed because value preceded it. This is not motivational rhetoric. This is economic law, but we've been conditioned to think backwards. We've been told that if we just work hard enough, if we just put in the hours, the money will come. And for some, it does. But for most, hard work alone is a trap. Because hard work without direction is just exhausting. Hard work without skill development is just repetition. Hard work without strategic thinking is just survival. And survival is not the same as thriving. Viktor Frankl, who survived the concentration camps of Nazi Germany, wrote that those who have a why to live can bear almost any how. The same principle applies to wealth. Those who have a clear purpose, a reason beyond mere accumulation, find that money becomes easier to attract and even easier to manage. Because they're not chasing it out of desperation. They're building something that matters, and money is simply the fuel that keeps the engine running. So let's talk about what actually creates wealth. Not the fantasy version sold in get-rich-quick schemes, but the real, sustainable version that compounds over decades. Wealth is created through three fundamental channels: skills that scale, systems that work without you, and decisions that compound. Skills that scale means developing abilities that can serve more people without requiring more of your time. Systems that work without you means building infrastructure, investments, or businesses that generate value even while you sleep. Decisions that compound means choosing actions today that create exponential results tomorrow. Most people never develop skills that scale. They trade time for money in a linear fashion, which means their income has a ceiling determined by the hours in their day. They never build systems because building systems requires upfront effort with delayed rewards, and we are wired to prioritize immediate gratification. And they make decisions based on short-term comfort rather than long-term gain, which means they stay exactly where they are, year after year, wondering why nothing ever changes. Here's what happens when you shift your focus from earning money to creating value. You stop resenting your work because it's no longer just about the paycheck. You start seeing opportunities everywhere because you're tuned into problems that need solving. You become more valuable to others, which means people are willing to pay you more, recommend you more, invest in you more. And paradoxically, the less desperate you are for money, the more of it seems to flow your way. Not because the universe rewards positive thinking, but because desperation repels opportunity while confidence attracts it. But confidence without competence is delusion. This is where most motivational advice falls apart. It tells you to believe in yourself without first becoming someone worth believing in. Real confidence comes from real skill. Real confidence comes from knowing that if everything fell apart tomorrow, you could rebuild because you have capabilities that others need. This is the foundation of financial security that no one talks about. Not your savings account, not your investment portfolio, your ability to create value from nothing. Now, if you're starting to see money differently, if something in what I'm saying is resonating, do me a favor. Subscribe to this channel, because what we're building here is not just another self-help feed. We're building a community of people who refuse to accept surface-level answers, who demand depth, who are willing to do the uncomfortable work of transformation. Hit that subscribe button, because the insights we're exploring here are going to challenge everything you thought you knew about success, productivity, and the life well lived. The second piece of advice that no one tells you is this: your relationship with money is a mirror of your relationship with yourself. Show me how someone spends money, and I'll show you what they value. Show me how someone saves money, and I'll show you what they fear. Show me how someone invests money, and I'll show you whether they believe in their own future. We lie to ourselves about money constantly. We say we can't afford something when what we really mean is it's not a priority. We say we're being responsible by saving every penny when what we're really doing is avoiding risk because we're terrified of loss. We say we'll start investing tomorrow, next month, next year, when what we're really saying is we don't trust ourselves to make good decisions. The psychology of money is far more important than the mathematics of money. Yet we spend all our time learning formulas and strategies while ignoring the beliefs and behaviors that actually determine our outcomes. You can know everything about compound interest and still be broke because you lack the discipline to let it work. You can understand portfolio diversification and still make terrible decisions because you panic when markets drop. Knowledge without self-mastery is useless. Let me give you a framework that changed everything for me. It's called the 3 financial selves, and understanding it will transform how you think about every dollar that passes through your hands. Your first financial self is the consumer. This is the part of you that wants immediate pleasure, that sees money as a tool for acquiring experiences and possessions. Your second financial self is the protector. This is the part that fears scarcity, that wants security above all else, that saves in hoards and avoids risk. Your third financial self is the investor. This is the part that understands delayed gratification, that sees money as seeds to be planted, not fruit to be eaten. Most people are dominated by their consumer self. They earn, they spend, they repeat. Some people are dominated by their protector self. They earn, they save, they never truly live. But the people who build lasting wealth have integrated all three selves into a coherent strategy. They know when to enjoy, when to protect, and when to invest. They don't deny themselves pleasure, but they don't let pleasure destroy their future. They don't ignore risk, but they don't let fear prevent growth. They've achieved what psychologists call integration, the ability to hold multiple truths simultaneously without being torn apart by contradiction. Here's where it gets interesting. The consumer self operates on emotion. The protector self operates on fear. But the investor self operates on reason and vision. And in the hierarchy of decision-making, reason must govern emotion, or you will always be at the mercy of impulse. This is why financial education that focuses only on tactics fails. Because tactics without self-knowledge are powerless against our own psychology. Sigmund Freud talked about the reality principle versus the pleasure principle. Children operate on the pleasure principle. They want what they want immediately. Adults who function well have developed the reality principle, the ability to delay gratification in service of better future outcomes. But here's what Freud didn't emphasize enough. Developing the reality principle is not about suppressing desire. It's about channeling desire toward sustainable fulfillment rather than temporary satisfaction. When you buy something you can't afford, you're not being irresponsible. You're being childish. And I don't mean that as an insult. I mean it diagnostically. You're letting the pleasure principle override the reality principle. You're prioritizing the temporary emotional hit over the long-term consequence. And the tragedy is that this pattern, repeated over years, doesn't just keep you poor. It keeps you psychologically immature, trapped in a cycle of instant gratification that prevents you from ever developing the patience required for real achievement. Now, the third piece of advice that no one tells you is this. Wealth is not about how much you make, it's about how much you keep, and how hard that money works for you. There are people earning 6 figures who are drowning in debt, and there are people earning modest incomes who retire as millionaires. The difference is not luck. The difference is behavior. Every dollar you earn has 3 possible destinations. It can be spent, disappearing forever in exchange for goods or experiences. It can be saved, sitting idle and losing value to inflation. Or it can be invested, multiplying over time through the magic of compound growth. Most people spend everything. Some people save a portion. Very few people invest strategically. And yet, investment is the only path to genuine wealth. But investment requires something most people don't have: patience. We live in an era of instant everything. Instant communication, instant entertainment, instant gratification. And we've lost the ability to wait, to endure, to trust in processes that take time to bear fruit. Real wealth is built over decades, not days. Real wealth requires you to plant trees whose shade you may not sit under for years. And in a world addicted to immediacy, this kind of thinking feels almost revolutionary. Albert Camus wrote that the only way to deal with an unfree world is to become so absolutely free that your very existence is an act of rebellion. And I believe that financial independence is one of the highest forms of freedom available to us. Not because money itself is freedom, but because having enough money removes the desperate quality from your decisions. You can choose work you find meaningful rather than work that merely pays bills. You can leave situations that diminish you. You can invest in your growth without fear of ruin. This is what wealth actually provides: options. And options are the currency of freedom. So how do we build this? How do we go from where we are, perhaps buried in debt, perhaps living paycheck to paycheck, perhaps comfortable but unfulfilled, to a place of genuine financial sovereignty? It starts with a single decision. Not a decision about money, but a decision about identity. You have to decide who you are becoming. Not who you are now, but who you are building yourself into. Because every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to be. Every dollar you spend is a vote for the life you're creating. And if your actions don't align with your aspirations, no amount of hoping or wishing will close that gap. This is where most people fail. They want the results of discipline without the practice of discipline. They want the wealth of the investor without the patience of the investor. They want the freedom of the financially independent without the sacrifice that financial independence requires. But reality doesn't negotiate. Reality is a mirror, not a genie. It reflects what you do, not what you wish. So here's the fourth piece of advice. Automate your wealth building before you have a chance to sabotage it. Human beings are terrible at consistency. We're great at motivation, at inspired action, at grand gestures. But we're abysmal at doing boring things repeatedly over long periods of time. And wealth building is fundamentally a boring process. It's deciding to save a percentage of every paycheck. It's investing in index funds and not touching them for decades. It's living below your means year after year while your friends upgrade their lifestyles. None of this is exciting. All of it is effective. The solution is to remove yourself from the equation. Set up automatic transfers from checking to savings. Set up automatic investments that pull money from your account before you see it. Set up systems that make the right decision the default decision, so you don't have to rely on willpower, which is a finite resource. Behavioral economics has proven beyond doubt that our environment shapes our choices far more than our intentions do. So shape your environment to make wealth building inevitable rather than optional. Now, we're about halfway through this exploration, and if what I'm sharing is landing, if you're starting to see money through a different lens, I want to ask you to do something. Share this video with one person who needs to hear it. Not to be preachy, not to lecture, but because transformation is easier in community. Send it to someone who's struggling, someone who's stuck, someone who's ready for a different approach. And then stay here with me, because what's coming next is where this really gets deep. The fifth piece of advice is about something we almost never discuss: the emotional cost of financial ignorance. When you don't understand money, you are anxious all the time. Even when things are going well, there's a background hum of worry. Will it last? What if something happens? Am I making the right choices? This anxiety is not irrational. It's a realistic response to being disempowered in one of the most important areas of life. Financial anxiety is not solved by having more money. It's solved by having more understanding. When you know how money works, when you have a plan, when you've built systems and skills that can generate income reliably, the anxiety diminishes. Not because you're suddenly rich, but because you're no longer helpless. You've moved from hoping things work out to actively making things work out. That shift in agency is everything. Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs places security at the foundation. And while he was talking about physical safety, I would argue that financial security is the modern equivalent. If you're constantly worried about money, you cannot self-actualize. You cannot pursue meaning or creativity or deep relationships because your nervous system is stuck in survival mode. Financial peace is not about luxury. It's about creating the conditions where you can focus on what actually matters without the constant background noise of economic fear. But here's the paradox. Financial peace doesn't come from having a certain amount. It comes from knowing you can handle whatever comes. It comes from resilience, from capability, from the confidence that even if you lost everything, you could rebuild. This is why developing valuable skills is more important than accumulating assets. Assets can be lost. Skills cannot. The most valuable asset you have is not your house or your portfolio. It's your mind, and what you've trained it to do. The sixth piece of advice builds on this. Invest in yourself before you invest in markets. The return on self-investment is infinite compared to the return on financial investment. If you spend $1,000 learning a skill that increases your earning capacity by $10,000 per year for the next 30 years, you've just made a $300,000 decision. No stock market investment comes close to that kind of return. And yet, people agonize over which index fund to choose while never spending a dime on their own development. This is backwards. You are your primary asset. Your knowledge, your skills, your network, your reputation, these are what generate wealth. Financial investments are where you store the wealth you've generated. But you have to generate it first. And generation comes from value creation, which comes from capability, which comes from deliberate self-development. So ask yourself, what skill would make me twice as valuable? What knowledge would open doors that are currently closed? What capability would allow me to serve more people more effectively? And then pursue that with the same intensity that people pursue stock tips or investment strategies. Because the best investment you'll ever make is in becoming someone more capable, more valuable, more skilled. Now here's where people get uncomfortable. Because investing in yourself often means saying no to immediate comforts. It means spending money on courses instead of clothes, on books instead of bars, on mentorship instead of meals out. It means prioritizing long-term growth over short-term pleasure. And in our culture, this makes you weird. People will question you. They'll call you cheap or obsessed or too serious. Let them, because 5 years from now, when your life has transformed and theirs hasn't, they'll be asking you for advice. The seventh and final piece of advice is the one that ties everything together. Your financial philosophy must be rooted in something deeper than money itself. Because if money is your ultimate goal, you will never have enough. There will always be someone with more. There will always be another level to reach. And this creates a treadmill of dissatisfaction that can consume your entire life. But if money is a tool in service of a larger vision, if it's a means to freedom, to impact, to the ability to live according to your values, then suddenly you have a target. You know when enough is enough. You can stop climbing the endless ladder and start living intentionally. This is the difference between being rich and being wealthy. Rich is about numbers. Wealthy is about freedom. I think about Seneca, the Stoic philosopher who was one of the wealthiest men in Rome. He didn't reject money, he understood its proper place. He wrote that wealth is the slave of the wise man and the master of the fool. If you control your relationship with money, it serves you. If money controls you, you become its servant, forever chasing, forever anxious, forever enslaved to numbers that can never satisfy the soul. So what is your vision? What would you do if money were not a limiting factor? And here's the critical question. What are you doing now to move toward that vision? Because if your daily actions don't align with your stated values, then your stated values are just fantasies. Reality is what you do, not what you wish you did. The path to financial sovereignty begins with radical honesty. Look at your bank statements from the last 3 months. Every transaction is a choice. Every choice reveals a value. If you say health is important but you spend hundreds on takeout and nothing on quality food or exercise, you're lying to yourself. If you say freedom is important but you spend every raise on lifestyle upgrades that lock you into your job, you're lying to yourself. The numbers don't lie. Your behavior reveals your actual priorities, not your stated ones. This is not about judgment. This is about awareness. You cannot change what you cannot see. And most people go through life never really looking at their financial behavior, never questioning why they make the choices they make, never examining the beliefs that drive their decisions. They're asleep at the wheel, and they wonder why they keep crashing. Wake up. That's the message. Wake up to how you've been conditioned. Wake up to the beliefs you inherited about money that may not serve you. Wake up to the patterns you've been repeating that led nowhere. Because once you wake up, once you see clearly, change becomes possible. Not easy, but possible. Here's what I want you to do after this video ends. I want you to write down 3 things. First, write down your current financial reality without sugarcoating it. What do you earn? What do you owe? What do you own? Raw numbers. Second, write down where you want to be in 5 years. Be specific. Not, I want to be rich, but actual numbers and actual freedoms. Third, write down the gap between those 2 points. That gap is not a problem. That gap is a project. Every project can be broken into steps. Every step can be taken. The question is not whether it's possible. The question is whether you're willing. Willing to learn what you don't know. Willing to do what's uncomfortable. Willing to delay gratification. Willing to become someone different than who you are now. Because that's what this requires. Not a trick or a hack or a secret. Transformation. Carl Rogers, the humanistic psychologist, said that the curious paradox is that when I accept myself just as I am, then I can change. And this applies perfectly to financial transformation. You have to accept where you are without shame or denial before you can move forward. Shame keeps you stuck. Denial keeps you blind. Acceptance creates the foundation for action. So accept where you are, and then decide where you're going. And then take the first step. Not tomorrow. Today. Open a savings account. Start tracking your spending. Read a book on investing. Have a conversation about money with your partner that you've been avoiding. Do something, anything, that moves you from passivity to agency. Because here's the truth that we've been circling this entire time. You are not a victim of your financial circumstances. You may be a product of them, shaped by poverty or by wealth, by good teaching or by terrible examples. But you are not trapped by them. You have agency. You have choice. And every day you wake up is another opportunity to exercise that choice differently. The best money advice you'll ever hear is not a formula or a strategy or a secret investment. It's this. Understand that money is a reflection of value, that wealth is built through skill and patience and systems, that your relationship with money mirrors your relationship with yourself, and that financial freedom is possible for anyone willing to prioritize it over comfort, to learn over staying ignorant, to build over consuming. This is not easy advice. This is not fun advice. This is not the kind of advice that gets you excited for a day and then fades into forgotten inspiration. This is the kind of advice that, if you actually implement it, will change the trajectory of your entire life. Not overnight, not in a year, but over time, compounding like interest, building like muscle, transforming like any practice that you commit to with consistency and intelligence. So subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, because what we're doing here is building something different. We're not peddling quick fixes or empty motivation. We're exploring the deep psychology of high performance, of mastery, of building a life that actually means something. Hit that notification bell because these ideas require repetition, require revisiting, require integration over time. And remember this. The only person who can change your financial life is you. Not your boss, not the economy, not luck or timing or circumstances. You, through your decisions, through your development, through your discipline. The money advice you needed to hear was never about money at all. It was about becoming someone capable of creating, managing, and multiplying value. Start today. Start now. Because the life you want is waiting on the other side of the person you need to become.